All right, Eric, welcome to the show. We are rocking and rolling. The record button has been pushed. You've been prepped and prepared that we're going to drill you and grill you on real estate. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Brett. I didn't expect to be grilled.
Drilled and grilled, man. There's two ways coming at you. No, it's fun. You are a seasoned veteran, and get the listeners up to speed here on a little bit on your background. This is the Real Estate Mogul MD. We talk with physicians, entrepreneurs, real estate investors, coaches, consultants, all of that stuff. But today, you're a couple of those combined with your experience in real estate and where you're at currently in your career as well, too. So let everybody know a little bit about Eric.
Yeah. Tell you a little bit about myself. I had my rich dad, poor dad moment when I was 18 years old. I was still at university and I met this entrepreneur. And he was just a regular community college teacher and he invested in real estate. He built an apartment building, a 36-unit apartment building. He was doing a shopping center and all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I was comparing my parents and this new guy, this real estate investor, is like, he's no smarter than my parents. He's just like, he has a different kind of smartness, a different kind of intelligence. He was aware of how to get loans, how to build things, how to create value. And so that's what I call my rich dad, poor dad moment. And with his help and his mentorship, I basically bought at 18 years old my first apartment building, an 8-unit apartment building with no money down and still cash flowing. Took a lot of work though. So it's not like, oh yeah, here's one, I'm just gonna buy it, with no money down. Obviously, it was not, the best property, and it was, I was able to do that with no money down, with seller financing and all that. And I had to analyze like hundreds of properties, literally, 400 or 500 properties. And my realtor was really like, Eric, like, they don't exist. What you're looking for doesn't exist. Stop looking. And trying to convince me, but eventually I found one, and he was all of a sudden very quiet. But it took me a long time after that to actually find, because I moved to different cities, big cities. It was hard to find deals that make sense, that were cash flowing and have some appreciation.
I noticed that you said you were an actuary. What in the world is an actuary? I just don't know.
So actuary is basically the math of financial risk. So I worked a lot with pension plans, automobile insurance company, house insurance, and we'd calculate the reserve, or we would calculate the premiums that they would have to charge for different class of risk. But really, it's really the math of financial risk overall, and you can apply it into different domains.
So you hit that, you were holding off, and then the dot-com hit, where it would have been a 1% return. Looked lovely at that point in time, right? So yeah. Here we are after the dot-com. Where then did you lead, Eric?
So after that, I tried all kinds of different businesses. We're a family of entrepreneurs. So we had like a low-carb grocery store, we had a gourmet sauce company, we had, and the intention was, all the companies that I built, I set them up so that they would be self-managed eventually. So we created the SOPs and all that kind of stuff, so that I can delegate to other people. Really, none of them really kind of like got the traction up until we went back to real estate. And one of my sons said, I want to be a real estate investor. And I was like, oh my God. But that's when we started looking. We tried different approach in California, but nothing really worked. We even tried like commercial and all of that, but yeah, it didn't work. But out of state, we were able to find deals out of state. And the first deal that we did, we were just looking to build our own passive income portfolio. We were not looking to create like any kind of company. We just wanted to have passive income portfolio for our family. And so the first deal we did was in Memphis, Tennessee. We bought the house like for $45,000, put $5,000 in, and then we had like put a tenant in there. I think it was like $750 a month, and it was cash flowing. So we refinanced it after we did the minor rehab, and I was able to get all my money out plus another like $5,000 or $6,000 cash in my pocket that I didn't have when I started that project, and I had a cash flowing asset that was appreciating. And I was like, okay, well, 2 more of those, please. And then we had done a lot of businesses, as I mentioned, and our friends and people that I worked with and people that I was talked to, that they would say like, what are you guys doing now? I said, well, I invest in single-family rentals in Memphis. I buy them distressed. And do what? Where? What are you doing? What? So they thought I was crazy. And after a while, maybe a year or so, we had accumulated a small portfolio, and so people said, well, are you interested in selling some of these properties? And that's when that whole idea of starting Martel Turnkey was launched, basically. So a lot of people were interested in buying the property that was already had a tenant in place, that was renovated recently, and all the systems were updated and maintained, and then people could buy it. It was cash flowing from day one, and we would introduce them to the property management company, and we also did like appraisal matching. So if there was once they want to get their loan, and if the appraisal didn't match the sale price, we would adjust the sale price accordingly.
Eric, what pieces in the renovation mitigate the most risk for you if you're buying for cash flow?
So if you're buying for cash flow, the renovation, so this is the nice thing about the rental, the rental market, the single family rental market, is that typically the budget, so when I'm looking at the scope of work that needs to be done, I don't want to do a gut job. I don't want to open walls. I don't want to redesign the layout or anything like that. So I keep it like around the $25,000 budget. So the roof, mechanicals, they need to be changed or they need to be maintained. The floor, the paint, redo the kitchen. And if you don't open walls and you don't start to do redo the electric, redo the plumbing, all that kind of stuff, and you stay away from foundation, you basically minimize your risk significantly. So you do an inspection, you make sure there's no foundation issue, you make sure there's no drain issue as well, the main drain that goes to the street. Often these drains are kind of old for the some properties, and you're sure to have a problem. So you can look at that, you can scope them out, and then you say, well, this is a point for you to kind of go back and negotiate with the seller and say, well, we scope the main drain, and then you have an issue. It's going to cost $5,000 to fix that. We need a price reduction. We need this. So, and the whole thing for us is, and for me, is about, you have to calculate all the multiple exits. The more exits you have, exit strategies you have, the better it's going to be. And again, this is why I like the single family rental model, is that I have multiple exit strategy when I buy the house. I can refinance it. I can try to sell it as a turnkey rental.
Hey, Eric, what's your bread and butter buy window? I know it's going to vary for each area. You're in multiple areas, but if you could say, hey, I want this kind of house, what would that house be when it comes to single family long-term rental?
Yeah, so on the Martel Turnkey side, if you're looking at the, and also for our flip system students that want to do the turnkey flip model, so you have to look at, we calculate kind of what is going to look like for the buyer of that property. So the buyer of that property is looking for 8 to 10% cash on cash return. So we calculate that and we say, well, this is the price that we can sell it at. Based on the rent that we can get, based on the insurance. We calculate all of that up front. Similarly, our software, Flip System comes with a software, and then that software actually calculates all these exit strategies. So you can decide, oh, this one, if I do a refi at the end of my rehab, once it's tenanted, I could actually get all my money out and I have one of those unicorn, or I can leave $10,000 out and have 25% cash on cash return. So you see all your exit strategy, we calculate all the exit strategies, and then you would know kind of right up front, like, okay, well, it's better for me to just flip it as a turnkey at that point.
As far as the size of the house, you know, what's the little sweet spot for you?
So it depends on the market, as you can imagine, but it's really around the 1,000 to 1,200 square foot, like 2-3 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bath. So that's the bread and butter.
Awesome, and I love breaking it down. So if you're looking at the 1,000 square feet at 25,000 in renovation, you're looking at about $25 a square foot. So just in renovation. So if you're just adding that in there, and the more of these things, like you said, when you did those commercial units, like how many of those did you do? You start noticing these little trends in these little pockets. Yeah. But what's even cooler is once you start producing these results, then you can measure not only projections, but how close you are to those.